pray for Gene today. And we ask your blessings upon him, that you will keep him safe, that you will keep him healthy, that you will help him to do the work of this campaign with diligence and with a wholehearted commitment to ensuring the quality of life for all humanity in Houston, Texas.
As the city attorney under Mayor Bob, Gene not only shined as a legal counsel, but he proved many times over his ability to build consensus and his extraordinary tenacity for getting the work done. But even with all of these attributes, what has really been at the forefront, and the reason I'm supporting him, is because he has compassion for this city.
And it's so typical of Houston, because Houston, more like any place than I've ever been, doesn't really care where you're from. It doesn't care what color your skin is. It doesn't care what your native language is. It doesn't care how you worship. All this city really cares about, are you willing and able to pitch in and make this a better place to live? And if you are, then the city welcomes you with open arms. And Gene Locke's life is a testament to that fact. So Gene, thank you very much for stepping up.
My friend said that he had a little anxiety about pronouncing my name, but it sounded like poetry to me. I arrived in Houston in the summer of 1966. And when I arrived at the University of Houston, I was stunned by the fact that there was the lack of democracy at the University of Houston. There was not inclusion of having everybody involved in a meaningful way of life at the University of Houston. And I went to Michelle Barnes, and I went to Deloitte Parker, and I went to Lynn Usan, and said, we've got to do something about this. And I was advised by a young lady that when we got started, to go out and seek a young man from Marshall, Texas, to help us with the leadership of this organization. And as Paul Harvey says, the rest is history. We were successful because of the leadership of Gene Locke and the many others that he inspired. One of the organizations that I work with, the International Youth Friendship and Development Program, we have been building friendships without borders and doing humanitarian relief throughout the world. We've been to South Africa and formed partnerships. We just arrived, came back from Brazil with 10 young people forming partnerships in Brazil. We've been to Cuba. But I want you to know that before we have embarked on any of our journeys, the first person that I talk to is Gene Locke. And I want you to know that he is responsible as one of our steering committee member meetings for many of the resources that are needed to make our expeditions, our travel seminars work.
I'm honored to be here today for Gene Locke. I got to know Gene Locke through Mayor Bob Lanier. We were trying to build a stadium, and out of 5 million people, I found he was the one guy I could sit and he and I would talk for hours about Houston, what Houston can be, and what Houston is, and how Houston can be a whole lot better for everybody. And he encouraged me, and his attorney, city attorney, was Gene Locke, and he would bring Gene, and sometimes we'd sit in his office for 2 and 3 hours and talk about the possibility of building this ballpark here. The person who really brought it all together was Gene Locke as his attorney, because this was a very complicated thing. Ultimately, we were able to form a Houston-Harris County Sports Authority that would be responsible, own the facility, build the city. And Gene Locke was the legal counsel, not only for the mayor and the city, but he was the legal counsel for the Sports Authority. So with Gene Locke, we have a wonderful candidate that is a true, great human being that values everyone, but he's a leader and he knows how to bring the best out and the best opportunity for everyone. That's what I see in Gene Locke, a great opportunity. Thank you.
You don't know what an honor it is for me to offer my son to lead a group of citizens like you. to make him the man that he can be. I tried. You can do it. I can't. I offered to come down here and move down here and vote. It's not too late yet. I think it's 6 months, isn't it? I have to come down here and live. But my vote is not as important as your vote. Your vote and your friend's vote is much more important.
I love this man. My wife and I consider him one of the most decent human beings we've ever known. And our friendship goes back a little over 15 years. And I've been asked to comment a couple of things about his ability and so as a lawyer. But I want to stretch that to include as the kind of person you want to make the key decisions in the city. I know of no one who, if I'm trying to figure out what's right, or what's a good idea, or whether I ought to try this or try that, or not try this or not try that, whose judgment I respect any more than Gene's. You know, if you're going to be a mayor, you're going to have to know when to push and when to persuade. You're going to have to, it's not unlike being a lawyer if you do it the right way. The reason Drayton and others in public service or with entities that do work with the public have such high regard from Gene is because of his judgment. I will tell you this, he has the best common sense of judgment of any lawyer I've ever dealt with.
I know a man with the intestinal fortitude who has a lock on what it takes to be the next great mayor. Friends, I want you to know that I'm about to present to you a man with a lock on this indisputable intellect, a lock on the vivid vision, a lock on the persuasive powers, and a lock on the intestinal fortitude, a man who's going to be our next great mayor, the Honorable Gene Locke, a man who will lead us in a time of challenge and controversy. If you love him and you know it, stand up. If you love him and you know it, stand up and show it. Houston's next great mayor, the Honorable Gene Locke.
I love you, Houston. I love me some Houston. I'm not going to try to compete with Al Green. I'm not going to try to compete with Rusty Harden. I'm not going to try to compete with Drayton. I'm not going to try to treat with my mama. I just want to talk to you a little bit about what we can do in Houston, what we must do in Houston, what we will do in Houston. My vision for Houston is that it will remain and always be a city of opportunity. For that to happen, we need to have leadership in the city at every sector. We need business leaders, we need community leaders, we need neighborhood leaders, we need union leaders, we need education leaders, and you'll need leadership at City Hall. Let me talk a little bit about what I would do as a leader at City Hall. We've got to have great transportation. For me, I believe in two things that we ought to do immediately. One, we ought to build out the light rail that the voters approved in 2003. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. Two, we need to make sure that we have a first-class quality bus service in the city. The future is bright. Houston, I love you. Thank you.